Tired of wearing clothes that doesn't scream BTS? Wanna get some official merch to support your bias group? Then go to Dive and get 10% off with the code kookie-scenario. Link in the description. And as always, now onto the video. Asian Fanfics offers the best fanfictions out there, and you can't prove me wrong otherwise. We've probably all been a victim of owning an account on there, and I was a victim too. So here is my phenomenal fanfic. Let me go oppa.
Oppa,
you said with a silent voice. Taehyung was already asleep because of his long schedules he had every day. You held his hand against your face, hoping that he wouldn't leave you.
Taehyung oppa, don't go.
You whispered, smiling into his ear. You had hopes that he'd stay with you tomorrow as well. Since the two of you met, you couldn't tell how you felt through words, and instead, you kept them in your heart, hoping that he'd come to know them by himself someday. What if he liked somebody else though? Then what would become of you? Whatever happened, you'd always be there for him. Even if he didn't like you, you wanted him to find happiness.
Please don't leave me, oppa.
Your heart beat harder of excitement, and Taehyung woke up to an exciting new day. That was just like every other day, just like how you kept trying to stay together, just like him.
And now the actual story begins.
You looked at his innocent face. He even smiled during his sleep. His hand slowly drifted closer to your heart. This was like every other night. You stayed awake, so you could happily watch over him. Not like days, where he wasn't here. Your heart was blind whenever he was gone. You could hear his breath as you gently fell asleep. You didn't want him to go and began to cry.
Please don't leave me, oppa.
Your heart beat harder of excitement, and Taehyung woke up to an exciting new day. The sunrise was beautiful, but your hands were really cold. His schedule started from early morning till late at night. The atmosphere wasn't good either, since Taehyung was gone. You weakly sat on your bed, looking at your phone. Your wallpaper was a picture of you both, of course. You certainly wanted to change it, as you didn't want to think of the two of you together. Taehyung kept messaging you, which caused him to get in a lot of trouble, but despite that, he continued to message you. His latest message was sent early this morning.
Sarang hey yo,
was the only thing it said, with a selfie of him and Jungkook enjoying their time together. You wanted to laugh but just couldn't. He was really awkward but cute, and he had a hard time writing romantic text messages. You looked at your earlier messages.
Oppa will give you a big, loving hug as soon as I get back home.
One said with a big red heart beside. It was still cold, but you were feeling cheerful, reading the tender words on the screen. You seriously wished you had never met. You would maybe have found eternal love by yourselves. What you only thought about was,
destiny can change whenever you want it to change.
You wouldn't have fallen in love with him if you had walked the opposite way. You could simply just have rejected him if you hadn't fallen deeply in love with him. Love for the first time felt like an illness, not just something unforgettable. You wanted to let him go but still had feelings for him. Now your only wish was to forget him. Forget your love.
Let's break up.
You typed and immediately clicked send. You knew how hurt it'd be if you decided to never look at each other anymore. But it was the best for the both of you. He was more sensitive than you. He knew you'd cry though, if he did. You needed to end this. If nothing else happened, your ending would be too heartbreaking, which could make you hate each other. You'd rather forget him than hate him. You were glad he wasn't by your side right now. Days went by like this. He didn't send you any messages for days and kept his silence. You tried to not think about him, but it was too hard. It was the 7th day without an answer. Someone suddenly knocked on the door. Could it be Taehyung? Did he want you back? You opened the door with closed eyes.
Taehyung oppa?
You stuttered as someone patted you on the shoulder. You then opened your eyes as the guy nicely answered.
Ani, it's Jimin.
He smiled, wanting to give you a friendly hug. He slowly embraced you with his arms. You closely looked at him.
What about Taehyung oppa?
You asked him and looked to the ground afterwards. He grinned, pretending like you hadn't even mentioned him.
Youngton, let's go to the park.
He said, awkwardly blushing as he grabbed your hand.
Where's oppa?
You asked him twice but he didn't answer. He held your hand tightly, being in a good mood.
Come on, Youngton.
He yawned at you with a very childish attitude. You wanted to reject him as you needed to rest but still proceeded to follow him.
Where are we going?
You asked curiously and tried catching up with him.
To the park.
He answered while dragging you along. Why did he suddenly show up in your apartment? Why didn't he know what was going on between you and Taehyung? He was so happy and nice to you though, so you didn't want him to be involved. It was cold but still, fall was your favorite season.
Let's just forget about Taehyung for once.
You wanted to say, trying to enjoy your time with Gimin.
Stay here. I am going to buy ice cream. One for you and one for me.
He said as you stood underneath a small tree. He let go of your hand and was on the way to a small convenience store. A lovely voice said. Your breath stopped as you turned around. It was not just an ordinary voice. A tall person stood in front of you with a rose in his big hand. You didn't know what to say as you saw that person's face.
Please accept my pure love.
He said, shyly blushing. Just now, you realized how much he meant to you. He wasn't just your love, but your everything.
Oppa will give you a big, lovely hug.
He told you, not letting you answer as he embraced you. Without having time to think, his embrace covered your body. In no time you smiled, realizing what the two of you really meant to each other.
Didn't I tell you I'd give you a big hug? Sarang hey yo.
He said but you didn't answer. You could feel his heartbeat towards yours as he held you in his arms. This was like jumping on pink clouds. There was too much happiness in one place.
What about Jim and Oppa?
You asked, feeling bad for him. Taehyung smiled and answered you tenderly.
He's buying ice cream for the three of us. Thanks to him, I was able to be here.
You nodded.
Oppa.
You said, looking at his beautiful face. He looked into your lovely eyes as you continued.
I am sorry.
You said with a silent and shy voice. You looked to the ground afterwards, still having your hands in his.
Why?
He asked surprisedly, holding your hands even tighter. You stuttered and weren't able to finish your sentence. He didn't say anything either, but hugged you tighter than he had ever done before instead. You must admit you enjoyed this moment more than anything else. He let you lean onto his shoulder.
Sarang heyo, it's only you, only you.
You whispered, making him unable to hear you. You simply just wanted both of you to enjoy this moment. Just like the first time you had met, he was standing there with open arms, embracing you tightly. He was really one of a kind, not just an ordinary guy.
And they lived happily ever after.